We have been quarantined for about 82 days. That's right, since this quarantine first began on March the 13th, we have been living all day, every day in our house. And as you and I may know, being in your house all day can be pretty tiring, can be boring, and it could also lead with problems with the people that are living with you. But what if I told you that there are people in this country that are dealing with even bigger and more difficult problems than this? Recent studies have shown that in Mexico, anxiety problems and domestic violence has increased in over 120% out of its normal. Even UNICEF stated that Mexico around the world is one of the countries that has these percentages increasing the most. So we do have a problem and we have to solve it. What is worrying about this is that the people who are being the most affected by it are kids and underage teenagers. If you want to talk about numbers, in Mexico, 6 out of 10 kids are dealing with domestic violence, and 4 out of 10 are dealing with anxiety problems. So, if we say that in Mexico we have a total population of about 125 million people, and out of those, 32 to 33% of them are kids, we would say that about 40 million kids are in our country, and out of those, 60% of them are dealing with these problems I just mentioned. So we could say that about 25 million kids are dealing with domestic violence, anxiety problems, or even both. And we have to work on it. Of course, the Mexican government has been developing programs for them to attempt these problems, but the numbers are just gigantic, and it would be pretty complicated to help and attend every single case. In the past few days, the Mexican government stated that since this quarantine began, about 21,000 new cases have been opened to investigation towards these problems, domestic violence and anxiety. So the numbers are just huge, and it would be pretty complicated to attend them all. Although the Mexican government has been training people, especially and specifically, to attend 911 calls, which is, of course, it is helpful. About 600 to 700 people are being trained for this so that we can have more people attending calls, emergency calls. But, of course, the numbers are just not enough. And that's what I'm bringing to you today. As you can see, this is a pretty big problem and it can lead to a difficult future. We have to think about these kids as the future of our country. That one day they will have the country in their hands as we as a generation are about to have it. And we have to know that one day those kids will be the adults who will sustain us and it will help us grow older and with a better life. So we have to be in contact with them so that we can help them grow into better adults. We have to help them get that information that we got when we were kids. It is important for us to be there. And that's why I think we have a pretty big social responsibility here to help those kids. I know, as I said, the numbers are just gigantic, but we can find a way to start impacting our society into positive matters. As some of you may know, I have been working with kids for the past 4 or 5 years, and I have been privileged enough to see that these generations, of course, they change, but they have specific characteristics such as anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies, and they lack social skills. So if you grab those kids and put them and shove them into their houses, these tendencies will potentialize and will lead to kids that are more depressive, that are tending to be suicidal, that do not have enough social skills to interact with people, and of course they will have lower self-esteem. So we have to work with them so they can grow into better adults. And that's what I'm planning to do now with this project, which is called Chamahuani. Chamahuani is a word in Nahuatl that means a kid that learns, a kid that grows. And that's the main goal with this project. I know it is pretty difficult, but I'm planning to gather a group of people who will help me develop specific programs and specific activities to help schools, social programs, and social companies that are dealing with these problems right now and help them get more tools for them to work with their kids. As you may know, economical problems are also part of this pandemic, and these companies and these programs are also affected by it. So we would build specific programs and activities to deal specifically with suicidal thoughts, with anxiety, and domestic violence. The great thing about this is that I'm not looking for specific people for a specific profile. I'm just looking for people that are eager to help people. I know that we have our own problems and we have to deal with them, but there are ways of helping people deal with their problems at the same time as I am working with mine. And the great thing is that you don't need to have specific knowledge in geography and history and sports. The great thing about this is that that thing that makes you passionate about and that you want to show the world is extremely helpful. I know that, for example, me, when I was a kid, I learned how to play the guitar, and that had a positive impact on me. And if I can get that feeling to those kids, I will help them and will get an impact on them, a positive impact. So that's the great thing about this. You just have to be eager to help another person. We have to understand that this problem is serious and that it will bring more things. It could be negative or they could be positive. And we have to work on the track of keeping things positive for their kids. We have to remember what it used to be being a kid and have these things, talking with your friends, gathering around, playing, being more creative, and have better self-steam. You have to remember what we lived and what we learned when we were kids, and you know the importance. That's the person that made you the person that you are right now. And if we help them get that, and we find a way for them to not to miss it, we will achieve our mission, and we will help people be better adults in the future. Think about what they could miss, about what they won't create, what they won't feel, what they won't learn. Let's help them. And if you want to help me help other people, you're welcome into our team.